Welcome to Eastern Wisdom Today. Discover the timeless insights of Eastern civilization, its rich history, vibrant cultures, profound philosophies, and the stories of its people, all shared to help you live more consciously, deeply, and authentically in the modern world. On this channel, we bring you the essence of Eastern wisdom traditions, from ancient teachings of mindfulness, harmony, and balance to practical ways you can apply them to your everyday life. Whether you're seeking inner peace, a deeper understanding of your true nature, or simply a more meaningful way to live, you're in the right place. Learn from the past, live fully today, create a better tomorrow. Subscribe and join a growing community reconnecting with the roots of wisdom for a happier, more mindful life. What if true seeing doesn't come from the eyes? In this profound exploration of the nature of mind, we dive deep into the essence of perception beyond thought, identity, and emotion. The truth about mind, seeing without the eyes, invites you to a space of pure awareness, where the self dissolves, and what remains is the silent witness behind all experiences. Discover how the ego subtly takes over our seeing, how the mind turns experience into narrative, and how real liberation begins, not by adding something new, but by seeing what's always been here. This is not about thinking differently, but about seeing differently. This talk is a journey into the distortion of perception through the ego, what it means to see without the seer, how to return to the original mind, the one that never left, the silent knowing that underlies every thought, feeling, and identity. If you're seeking wisdom beyond concepts, clarity beyond knowledge, and presence beyond personality, this video is for you. Let's not understand the mind. Let's see it. One silent night, in the stillness of a familiar room, I sat alone in meditation. No lights, no sounds, no effort. I simply sat, and in that stillness, everything in the mind began to settle. Darkness covered the room like a blanket over form and memory. My eyes were closed. No light entered. No colors stirred. No images remained. There was nothing to see. And yet, something strange began to unfold. I saw. A face appeared. Then a memory. Then a path I had once walked, long forgotten. Images arose, not imagined, not summoned. They simply came, and I simply watched. And then the question came, not from thought, but from the silent depth behind thought. What is it that sees when the eyes are closed? Not the eyes, they rest in darkness. Not light, there is none to illuminate. Not imagination, I made no effort to recall. So what, then, is this seeing that needs no light? It is not bound by space, not measured by time, not dependent on the senses. Yet it is. It knows. It witnesses. It is present. That night, I touched something ancient, not a vision, but a knowing. It did not belong to the eyes. It did not arise from the brain. It was not a product of thought. It was the presence behind all that changes. The one that sees when the senses sleep. The one that knows without needing to know. Perhaps you too have had a moment like this, when your eyes were closed, and yet, you saw, when no sound touched your ear, and yet, you heard, when no memory was summoned, and yet, something spoke from within. If so, then you understand. But be careful, not to name it. Not yet. For the moment we call it mind, or intuition, or even spirit. We are no longer with it. We have returned to the intellect. Let us walk a little further, not to define, but to remember, that which has never left us. Not for a single moment. We believe the eyes are what see. That vision belongs to the organ. But look closer. The eye is but a lens, receiving light, form, and movement. It sends signals. But if the brain goes silent, the world disappears, no matter how perfect the eye. And if the brain is alive, but you are not awake to the one who sees, then all vision becomes a dream. But in dreams, have you not seen? You float through skies you've never touched. You walk through forests never visited. You recognize faces, feel emotions, hear voices, and all the while, your eyes remain closed. So again, what is it that sees? When you remember a lost loved one, and their smile returns so vividly you can almost touch it, what part of you is seeing? No one else sees what you see, because it happens not in the world, but in that inner expanse where no machine can measure. This is not the work of the eye, nor the mind, nor even memory. This is the work of awareness. A seeing beyond form, a knowing beyond thought. So if we stop at the surface and believe the eyes are the source, we miss the entire depth of perception. The physical eye may be blind, but this seeing continues. Eyes may close, but within, the vastness remains. A seeing that needs no light, because it is the light, not obscured by eyelids, not dependent on any external object. It is the foundation of every experience, whether dream, imagination, memory, or the present moment. And if you begin to question its true nature, you are already taking the first steps on the path to discovering your own mind. When we speak of the mind as that which sees, the first clarification is this: the mind is not the stream of thoughts running through your head. Thoughts are but one of countless phenomena that arise and pass away within the mind, like ripples on the surface of a still lake. The mind is the lake itself, still, vast, and the ground in which all movements appear. Mind is not the brain. The brain is a biological organ, much like the heart or lungs. It processes, remembers, coordinates, but the brain cannot know of its own existence. The mind, on the other hand, is aware of the workings of the body, the brain, and even the flow of thoughts. Nor is the mind merely our waking consciousness. Consciousness is the state of being aware, knowing what we're doing, feeling, or sensing. Yet consciousness can be turned off in deep, dreamless sleep or under anesthesia. The mind, however, does not turn off. In the very moment you awaken, that knowing is already present. No one activates it, no one presses a switch. It was always there, momentarily veiled by the interruption of neural and linguistic activity. Many assume the mind is equivalent to personal awareness, the feeling of, I know, I think, I observe. But this so-called awareness is actually a conditioned structure, shaped by memories, experiences, and identity. It flows like a colored stream, tied to the self-image and social role. It reacts, discriminates, and always inserts a someone behind every perception. But the mind, true mind, is a knowing untouched by personal imprint. It is not tied to names, memories, or identities. When the concept of I know dissolves, and only knowing remains, pure, unfiltered, and nameless. That is mind. It's not, I am seeing this, but rather, seeing is happening. Without a seer, it is a full presence without subject or object. A natural radiance like sunlight that shines without choosing where to land. There is something subtle that few notice. You can know that you are thinking. You can know you are anxious, or remembering the past, or imagining the future. Clearly, there is something beyond the thought that is observing the thought. And that observer is not thought. That is mind. The mind does not strive to see, it simply sees. It does not try to hear, it simply knows. It has no form, no color, yet it is the background upon which all phenomena appear. When you close your eyes and imagine a face, a scene, or a dream, these images arise in a certain space. But this space is not physical, not air-bound. It exists within the mind. Properly speaking, then, mind is not the seer, directed toward the seen. Mind is the all-encompassing knowing in which the divide between subject and object vanishes. Mind is not opposed to the world, it contains the world. When you realize this, you will see that true seeing does not require eyes, nor scenery, nor even the act of seeing itself. Mind is the ground from which all knowing, perceiving, and sensing arise. All the senses, all thoughts and feelings, are merely waves rising from the surface of mind. That knowing, silent, changeless, unbroken, is the only thing not altered by time or circumstance. And if you can learn to rest not in what is known, but in the very act of knowing itself, then you are already nearing awakening. Because in that moment, you are no longer caught in images, sounds, or thoughts, but returned to the original knowing, formless, but always present. True mind is not merely recognizing that the eyes do not see and that vision comes from deeper within. That recognition, while profound, can still drift into abstraction. In daily life, we continue to see, hear, feel, and react as though everything is real, personal, and solid. So how can we tell if we are seeing through mind, or still seeing through the eyes and the ego? Imagine this simple scenario. You walk into a room and see someone sitting there quietly. If your mind immediately goes, they look sad, maybe something happened, or, they don't like me, then you are not really seeing the person. You are seeing them through memory, emotion, and conditioned ideas, through the filters of yourself. That is not clear seeing. But if you simply see them, without projection, without story, just see them sitting, just present, then that seeing becomes whole. There is no you, no them, no narrative, just life, revealed clearly. That is when mind sees. Mind seeing is not an act of will. It's not about trying to observe more deeply or correctly. It happens when there is no one trying at all. When the efforting mind dissolves, the seeing naturally shines. It is an awakened state so simple. Most overlook it, and yet, because of that, it is infinitely profound. When someone praises you and you feel joy, pause. Who is happy? Is it the mind? Or a mental image of me that's been reinforced? And when someone criticizes you, and irritation flares, can you feel the reaction without becoming it? In that moment, if you simply see the reaction arise without identifying with it, you are seeing through mind. But if you are pulled into emotion, driven to explain or control, you are still seeing through the ego. To see through mind does not mean to be cold or detached. On the contrary, it is to be more fully alive, to feel clearly. Without drowning in what is felt, you can witness sorrow arising, but not be the sorrow. You can watch anger appear, but not be the one who is angry. The mind simply knows. This is sadness. This is anger. This is thought. It does not judge. It does not resist. It simply knows. In this knowing, something profound is revealed. That most of life, we are looking, but not truly seeing. For our vision is tainted by habits, by past impressions, by personal needs, by fear of pain. That is no longer the pure seeing of mind, but a version manipulated by the layers of the ego. Seeing through the mind is like seeing for the first time, with no frame, no repetition, no conclusion, and when that seeing is present, everything becomes light, even anger, sorrow, or pain, because the mind does not oppose anything, it simply sees. And in that seeing, all resistance dissolves. If you truly wish to live with deep awareness, do not try to change the world. Do not force yourself to think better or meditate harder. Just observe. What are you seeing with? When the answer is no longer, my eyes, or my memories, or my ego, then you have already begun to see through the mind. And from that moment, everything becomes crystal clear, just as it is. Clarity arises when seeing remains unclouded. But illusion begins the instant the ego enters. The problem starts when the ego infiltrates the moment of seeing. As soon as perception arises, the ego immediately lays claim to it, attaching to it a person who is seeing, a self who is looking, analyzing, and understanding, and so, pure seeing becomes a tool of the ego. We do not simply see, we wrap each moment of seeing in the story. I see this. Therefore, I understand that, because I know exactly what kind of person they are. Seeing no longer remains a mere contact with reality. It becomes the ground upon which the ego projects meaning, reinforces identity, and asserts its place in the world. It is right there that seeing begins to be hijacked. Instead of seeing with awareness, we see through fear. Instead of perceiving with presence, we perceive through defensive habits. A stranger's glance can be mistaken for disdain. A careless word can be interpreted as an attack. A small gesture by someone can be inflated into a threat, not because the world is distorted, but because our seeing has been distorted by the ego's need to protect itself. The ego not only distorts perception, it manipulates it to control emotion. It convinces you that you are seeing truth, while in fact you are only seeing your own expectations, wounds, and unresolved memories reflected back at you. You think you are awake, yet you are living inside a dream woven from the past and conditioned reflexes. Thus, the danger lies not in faulty seeing, but in seeing being fused with the ego. When that happens, perception always bends toward affirming the sense of, I am the center. I am the knower. I am right. Anything that contradicts that image is denied, resisted, or rejected. This is the deep reason why even the educated and experienced can remain trapped in cycles of suffering. They cannot see things as they are because their seeing is clouded by the compulsion to affirm the self. They do not see others as living beings, but as mirrors reflecting back the identity they wish to believe in. True seeing does not lie in what I see, but in whether I am still in it. As long as a self stands behind the seeing, what you see is just a form of perception hijacked by identity. It does not liberate, it only strengthens the barrier between you and the world. But if one day you see without a seer, only seeing operating on its own, then the ego loses its foothold. It cannot cling to anything to interpret, to judge, to exalt. Seeing becomes luminous, untouched by time, unstained by the past, and from that seeing, you begin to live, not by repeating yourself through every experience, but by flowing freshly with life. To see the hijacking is not to fight the ego, but to no longer be ruled by it. You don't need to destroy the ego, just see clearly that you are not it. And to see this way is to see with the heart, seeing that is not possessed by identity. That needs no affirmation, that makes no one the center of any story, yet remains the quiet foundation where all stories arise and fade away. Returning to the heart is not a journey of intellect. It is not about acquiring new ideas, memorizing lofty concepts, or believing in a spiritual system. On the contrary, returning to the heart is a stopping, a ceasing of chasing images, of clinging to emotion, of being swept away by endless thoughts. In that stopping, a space opens where knowing shines forth without needing any object to grasp. You don't need to search for the heart, because right now, as you are reading these words, the one that knows you are reading, that is it. It doesn't belong to any doctrine or belief. It is the silent foundation that is aware of every passing word, that witnesses each arising emotion. You cannot see the heart as an object, but if you are still enough, you will recognize directly that everything is unfolding within it. The heart doesn't come from outside. It isn't lost when your attention wavers. It remains, like a clear mirror reflecting every image without being attached to any. When the heart attaches to an image, it becomes what we call thought, intellect, or consciousness. But when it no longer clings, it returns to its original state, pure, luminous, still. In that state, you are no longer the one who sees. Seeing simply happens spontaneously, with no subject, no object, no interference. People often think seeing oneself means understanding one's personality, preferences, strengths, and weaknesses. But that's only the psychological shell, a fragile, ever-changing surface. To truly see yourself is to recognize the one who is seeing all of that. The one not bound by names, memories, or roles. And when you see the seeing itself, when you become aware of the heart, you know you are not what you think you are. You are not the stories in your mind, not the fleeting emotions, not the image you maintain before the world. You are the one seeing all of those arise and pass away. You are the foundation from which all experience is born and into which it falls again. No one can give you this. No knowledge can replace the direct experience. No religion can monopolize its meaning. Only when you silently return, observe, and recognize, can you truly meet yourself. Like one who drinks water, only that one knows if it is hot or cold. No one can see the heart for you. But when you see it for yourself, you'll know that every question, who am I? What is the mind? Where is enlightenment? Melts like mist in morning light. Until the point where you realize, seeing is not just a cognitive act. It is the very foundation of life itself. Not seeing in order to know things, but seeing as life itself, alive in every moment you call, I am living. That is the great shift, from understanding seeing to living as seeing. As long as you are thinking about seeing, contemplating, analyzing, it remains outside of you. But when you live inside the seeing, without the seer, without holding on to what is seen, life becomes light as a cloud. You are no longer driven to clarify everything. You no longer chase answers for every question in the mind, because the very knowing itself is the answer. Then, things no longer appear as objects to be observed, but as a seamless part of the movement of seeing. You do not see the flower as an object, but feel the life blooming within it, not separate from yourself. There is no more, I see the flower, only a meeting between two streams of nameless, boundaryless presence. When a bird sings, you don't need to name the species or its origin. The silent knowing is already complete. When sorrow arises, you don't need to push it away or unravel it. Just see that it is there. And instantly, it is no longer my sadness, but just a passing phenomenon in the field of seeing. And then it leaves, like a cloud crossing the sky, leaving no trace. To live like this is to live unbound. You can still speak, work, love, create, but without the weight of playing roles, preserving images, or controlling outcomes. Every action flows naturally, arising from clarity, not from fear of lack or the thirst for recognition. In this state, you are no longer seeking anything from life, not because you are indifferent, but because you are living in the very source of every answer. There is nothing to cling to, nothing to defend, nothing to perfect. Everything simply is, and that is enough. This is not apathy or resignation. It is supreme aliveness, living with everything while being bound by nothing. Like a drop of water merging with the ocean, it does not disappear, it becomes the whole. So too, when you are no longer the one who sees, but the seeing itself, you are no longer someone in the world. You are life recognizing itself through every gaze, every step, every breath. There is no mystery, no need for explanation. Only one thing remains to be realized. You have never left that seeing. You have never been anything but that. And in the end, beyond all analyses, all questions, all experiences, what remains is not a concept of the heart, but a living silence within you at this very moment, a stillness that needs no explanation, a knowing that demands no name. In that state, the heart is no longer something abstract or distant, but the living reality quietly operating beneath every thought. The heart does not come from the past, nor dwell in the future. It only reveals itself in the present moment, through effortless, unconditional presence. If right now, you are quietly sensing yourself, not trying to think or analyze, then you are already in the heart. No confirmation needed, no proof required. Simply living in that knowing is enough. Don't let anyone convince you that the heart is something complex, lofty, or reserved for monks and mystics. It belongs to no one. It is not owned. It is not limited by identity or circumstance. Whoever you are, wherever you are, it is always here. Like a timeless foundation behind every movement of life. When you live from the heart, you stop seeking meaning in form. You are no longer enslaved by right and wrong, gain and loss, or the need for validation. You begin to see everything as it is, unadorned, unresisted, and then, life is no longer a battle, but a gentle flow, each moment imbued with wordless wisdom. Perhaps this is what Eastern wisdom quietly reminds you, not to reach for something new, but to rediscover what has never left, not to accumulate more spiritual knowledge, but to see that you already have everything, not to believe in something more, but to let go of what is false, not to become someone else, but to return to the one who has always known. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being fully present with Eastern wisdom. And if anything remains after all is said, let it be you, in your purest form. In a noisy world, wisdom is a place to return to. If this video stirred something within you, a question, a pause, or a spark, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to Eastern Wisdom today. Together, we learn to live more mindfully, deeply, and authentically, one day at a time. Tap the bell so you won't miss the journey back to your true self.